They told him it would be easy. Just another medieval forgery waiting to be exposed. Dr. Paolo Di Lazzaro stepped into the ENIA laboratory in Frascati with one simple mission: prove the Shroud of Turin was painted by a clever artist 700 years ago. Standard procedure, standard result. But when the quantum physicist aimed his ultraviolet laser at the reconstructed linen, something impossible happened. The fabric didn't burn, it didn't scorch, it didn't behave like any material should when exposed to concentrated energy. Instead, it revealed a secret that would consume the next decade of his life. What scientists discovered wasn't medieval paint. It was a biological archive, a molecular photograph. Evidence encoded at the atomic level that shouldn't exist. This is the story of the most extensive forensic investigation ever conducted on a single artifact. And the deeper they looked, the further back in time the evidence pulled them. The year is 2002. The University of Padua receives permission for something unprecedented: full spectroscopic analysis of the shroud, using technology that didn't exist even 20 years prior. Dr. Giulio Fanti assembles his team: chemists, physicists, textile experts, forensic pathologists. Their equipment reads like the inventory of a crime scene investigation unit: electron microscopes, mass spectrometers, infrared sensors, ultraviolet imaging arrays. The hypothesis is simple: medieval forgery means medieval materials. Find the paint, find the pigment. Case closed. The first test strips away 5 centuries of assumptions in 60 seconds. No paint, no pigment, no dye. No artistic medium of any kind. The image isn't on the fabric, it's in it, encoded into the topmost fibers at a depth of just 0.2 microns, thinner than a single cell wall. The coloration extends only to the outermost surface of each thread, leaving the reverse side completely untouched. Dr. Fanti leans closer to his monitor. The discoloration appears to be a result of oxidation and dehydration at the molecular level, as if the fibers aged centuries in milliseconds. Accelerated degradation forming an image. This isn't the work of a brush. This is the work of energy. The team photographs the cloth under every wavelength of light: visible spectrum, infrared, ultraviolet. Each frequency reveals new layers of information invisible to the naked eye. Under ultraviolet, the bloodstains fluoresce with a distinctive signature. Under infrared, water stains from the 1532 fire appear. But the body image remains consistent across every spectrum. Whatever created this didn't just mark the surface, it altered the fundamental chemistry of the fibers themselves. But what kind of energy creates a perfect photographic negative 6 centuries before photography was invented? In 1898, photographer Secondo Pia develops the first photograph of the shroud. When he examines the negative in his darkroom, he nearly drops the plate. The negative reveals a positive image, anatomically perfect, 3-dimensionally encoded. For 13 centuries, every person who looked at the shroud saw only a faint, confusing arrangement of stains. But the cloth was waiting for the invention of photography to reveal what had been hidden in plain sight. Fast forward to 1976, NASA scientists at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory input shroud images into their VP8 image analyzer, a machine designed to convert photographs into 3D topographical maps for planetary surface analysis. Photographs don't contain 3D information. They're flat projections. The VP8 should produce gibberish. Instead, it generates a perfect relief sculpture. Distance from body to cloth encoded into light intensity. Every curve, every contour, every wound mapped with mathematical precision. Dr. John Jackson stares at the holographic reconstruction floating on his screen. This isn't an image, it's a distance map, a spatial algorithm frozen in ancient linen. The intensity of the discoloration is inversely proportional to the distance between cloth and body. Closer surfaces appear darker. Distant surfaces appear lighter, a perfect gradient encoding three-dimensional space into two-dimensional fiber. No artist in history has encoded 3D data into a 2D image because until the invention of VP8 analysis, there was no way to see it, no reason to create it, no technology to verify it. So why does this cloth contain information that couldn't be perceived for nearly 2,000 years? The ENIA team runs simulation after simulation. They try every medieval technique: boss relief contact, iron oxide rubbings, acid etching, thermal scoring. Nothing produces the same effect. Contact methods create distortions, flattened features, smeared edges. The Shroud image shows no distortion despite being draped over a three-dimensional form. De Lazaro's laser experiments reveal something extraordinary. Only ultraviolet radiation at specific wavelengths can replicate the superficial coloration. The excimer laser operates at 183 nanometers, ultraviolet C range, but the energy required would be equivalent to 34,000 excimer lasers, firing simultaneously at the fabric. And the pulse would need to last less than a billionth of a second to avoid complete incineration. The medieval world didn't have electricity. Dr. Marzia Boy, from the University of the Balearic Islands, examines pollen samples extracted from the cloth. Her specialty, archaeobotany. The botanical fingerprints of ancient civilizations. Under electron microscopy, she identifies 78 distinct pollen species. 17 exist exclusively in the Judean desert, near Jerusalem. 8 bloom only in March and April. 3 are endemic to a region covering less than 50 square miles around the ancient city. Gundelia tournefortii, a thistle that grows wild in the hills surrounding ancient Jerusalem. Its pollen blankets the cloth. Zygophyllum domosum, a desert shrub from the Dead Sea region, present in significant quantities. The botanical timestamp is unmistakable. Spring, 1st century, Eastern Mediterranean. But there's more. Dr. Pier Luigi Baima Bologna conducts immunological testing on the dark stains marking the fabric. Blood analysis reveals something forensic pathologists recognize immediately: the pattern of post-mortem serum separation. When blood stops circulating, red cells settle, leaving a translucent halo of serum around dried blood stains. It's visible under ultraviolet light. It can't be painted. It can't be faked. It only occurs in genuine human blood that has dried in contact with cloth while the body remains immobile. Spectroscopic analysis confirms human hemoglobin. Type AB blood, rare in Western Europe, common in the Middle East. The same type found on the Sudarium of Oviedo, a separate cloth with documented chain of custody dating to the 7th century. The bloodstains show something else: torture patterns, consistent with Roman crucifixion. Over 120 scourge marks from a flagrum, a Roman whip embedded with lead weights and bone fragments. The marks appear in pairs, crisscrossing the back in a pattern that speaks of systematic brutality. Nail wounds through the wrists, not the palms, exactly where Roman execution protocol demanded. The wrist wounds show exit angles consistent with nails driven through the space of destot, a gap between carpal bones that can support body weight. Medieval artists always painted nails through the palms, because that's what tradition taught. That's what seemed logical. But Roman crucifixion manuals, lost for 15 centuries, confirm nails through the carpal tunnel. Weight-bearing. Anatomically precise. If the nail pierces the palm, the hand tears free. Every Roman executioner knew this. The cloth knows things medieval Europe had forgotten. There's one more detail: soil samples scraped from the feet area. Dr. Joseph Kolbeck from the Hercules Aerospace Company analyzes the mineral composition. Aragonite limestone, calcium carbonate with trace strontium. The chemical signature matches limestone from Jerusalem tombs. Not Italian limestone, not French limestone. Jerusalem. Then comes 1988, the radiocarbon test. 3 laboratories: Oxford, Zurich, Arizona. Unanimous result: 1260, 1390 AD. Case closed. Medieval forgery confirmed. The headlines write themselves. Science defeats superstition. The church's most treasured relic exposed as a fake. Except the evidence doesn't fit. Dr. Raymond Rogers, a chemist from Los Alamos National Laboratory and the Shroud of Turin Research Project, examines the sample area used for carbon dating. What he finds disturbs him. The tested threads contain cotton fibers. The main body of the shroud is pure linen. They contain a gum coating, likely a starch-based adhesive. The main cloth has no coating. They show vanillin presence. Vanillin is a lignin breakdown product that appears when plant materials decompose. It disappears completely after about 1/300 years of aging. The tested sample has vanillin. The surrounding original cloth shows 0 vanillin content. Rogers publishes his findings in Thermochimica Acta, one of the most respected journals in thermal analysis. The carbon sample came from a medieval repair patch, not the original cloth. Further investigation reveals why. The 1532 fire in Chambéry. The shroud was stored in a silver casket when fire broke out. Molten silver burned through the folded cloth, creating large holes. Poor Clare nuns repaired it using 16th century linen, invisibly rewoven into damaged edges, using a technique called French reweaving. The carbon test dated the repair, not the relic. When textile experts examine undamaged sections, they find something remarkable. A herringbone weave pattern, consistent with 1st century Syrian textile production. A 3/1 twill weave, complex, expensive. A pattern that disappeared after the fall of Jerusalem in 70 AD. Ancient textile fragments excavated from Masada, the fortress that fell in 74 AD, show identical weaving patterns. The microscopic analysis reveals one more detail: limestone particles embedded deep in the fibers, calcium carbonate matching the chemical signature of ancient Jerusalem tombs, travertine aragonite with the exact isotopic ratios found in rock-cut tombs from the 1st century. Dr. D. Lazaro sits in his laboratory, surrounded by a decade of data. The evidence forms a chain that pulls in one direction: technology that predates photography by 6 centuries, biological markers pointing to 1st century Jerusalem, forensic details matching Roman execution procedures, botanical evidence from a 50-square-mile radius around an ancient city, atomic-level encoding that requires energy sources that shouldn't exist. Every answer generates deeper questions. The image contains no brushstrokes, no directional marks, no evidence of artistic technique. The discoloration is uniform at the microscopic level, as if every fiber was altered simultaneously by a single burst of energy. If this is a medieval forgery, it's a forgery that knows quantum physics, a forgery that encodes 3D information invisible to the human eye, a forgery that sources rare pollen from a desert 3,000 miles away, a forgery that understands blood chemistry, Roman crucifixion anatomy, and ancient textile manufacturing. A forgery that requires technology we still can't replicate with modern equipment. Dr. Fanti runs one final test mechanical and chemical analysis of fiber degradation, comparing the shroud's aging patterns to linens of known dates. His conclusion: the cloth dates to approximately 33 AD, plus or minus 250 years. The scientific community remains divided. Skeptics point to the 1988 carbon dating. Believers point to everything else, but the data is undeniable. What the University of Padua team discovered wasn't a painting, it was a recording. A molecular-level documentation of an event captured with precision that modern science struggles to explain. The cloth weighs less than 5 pounds. Its dimensions are 14 feet by 3 feet. It has survived wars, fires, and centuries of handling. It has been analyzed by more scientists than any artifact in history. And still, we cannot explain how the image was formed. Whether created by known or unknown means, by natural or extraordinary process, the shroud remains what it has always been, a question mark, written in human tissue and ancient fiber, the most analyzed artifact in human history, a forensic puzzle that refuses to be solved. And still, after 21st century technology has measured every thread and mapped every molecule, after electron microscopes and mass spectrometers and quantum lasers have revealed secrets invisible for 2 millennia, still, we don't know how it was made. The investigation continues. Somewhere in a laboratory, another scientist is preparing another test, another theory, another attempt to decode the biological hard drive that has been recording for 2,000 years. The shroud waits, as it has always waited, ready to reveal one more secret.